It's hard to imagine life without the internet, and with an increase in digital distribution and online games, it's never been more important to have a fast, stable connection with a large bandwidth. So in comes the National Broadband Network, one of the largest public infrastructure projects to ever be carried out in Australia.
We have an ageing telephone and broadband network in Australia, and it needs upgrading. So the current government have set in place a policy which we are rolling out at NBN Co, which is upgrading to the state-of-the-art fibre to the premise, fixed wireless and satellite technologies. And it means that we can take our broadband speeds from what we've got today, which is typically in the order of 12 megabits per second, up to really high-speed broadband of around 100 megabits per second and beyond.
We have seen the evolution of technologies over the last 5-10 years, and we're getting to a point now where we do need to keep pace with our international counterparts so that Australia remains competitive in the global environment.
Under the current plan, fibre will be directly rolled out to 93% of the premises in Australia. Right now, this connection is capable of reaching speeds of 100 megabits per second download and up to 40 megabits per second upload. The remaining 7% of the population will be receiving a mixture of fixed wireless coverage based on 4G technology and a full-term satellite service. Both will have maximum speeds of 25 megabits per second download and 5 megabits per second upload. If it all goes to plan, this should be finished by 2021. But the project is still in its early stages.
We currently have some 70,000 premises that are able to connect into the NBN. And right now we have some 800,000 premises that are in areas where construction is already underway.
So to test the NBN out for myself, I'm off to the coastal town of Kiama.
2 hours south of Sydney, with a population just under 20,000. Home to beautiful beaches, tasty ice creameries, fish and chips, the famous Kiama blowhole, and now one of the first sites selected for the National Broadband Network.
I think as being one of the first release sites was because of the basalt rock and the blue metal gravel, and they wanted to test different drilling equipment and technologies in creating ducting and running the cable through the rock. And at the moment it's still being implemented and rolled out through the community. We were lucky enough to get into our council administration building, but from there we used our own dark fibre, which connects it to the libraries. It's due to be about June, July this year that the CBD of Kiama will be rolled out, and then also we'll have our other remote sites that will then be able to utilise the NBN connections.
So a general speed test through the NBN connection showed that we're getting a dramatic increase in the download speed, but what was more surprising was how fast the uploads were.
The top speeds would probably be about 11 megabytes per second, and if you had a 1 or 2 gig file, it'd probably take you 1 or 2 minutes to download that.
Now, speed tests can only tell us so much about an internet connection. Let's see how the NBN handles games.
So after many years spent playing online games on an ADSL connection, the NBN helps a lot. Primarily, I'd say, DLCs for games and the speed it takes to download the DLCs. There's no 5-hour waits anymore, it's pretty much instant, really.
Well, in a game of Counter-Strike, I'm not noticing a big difference. It seems to be running just as fast as it did back in the office. But one thing to take note of is my ping, which is running at 4, the lowest out of anyone else I'm versing.
Typically with online gaming, yeah, the speed improvements helped a lot. The fibre connection helps drive down the ping times, and noticing that on most servers you connect to, it does help with local connections. The other one, playing any PC game, some of the servers can have custom content, and downloading that is usually pretty fast now, considering before there was up to, say, 5 to 10 minutes before you could join a server.
Let's go, let's go!
Definitely with multiple users in the household, you don't find as much lag, whereas previously, like on an ADSL connection, as soon as one other person jumps on, you get spikes in your ping and your latency, and basically it becomes unplayable. It does still occur, but not to the extent that it does on ADSL.
Time to turn on the lights.
We have lots of people that work from the library. They might work in Sydney a few days a week, but they actually come down to the library here and use the NBN and this sort of community facility, and if they have to move large files around for their work, they'll come down in here because they know they can do it so much quicker. Also, we've been able to connect to the National Museum down in Canberra and participate in some of their programs, so it just makes communities in regional Australia be able to explore some of these other things that we can't get to easily.
NBN Co is just a wholesaler, so if you want to connect, you'll have to contact an ISP. And like current internet plans, you'll pay more for speed and bandwidth. Areas like Kiama have clearly benefited from the NBN, but it's an experience that may not be shared by others in the future. Due to the large scale of the project, the type of rollout will depend on which political party is in federal government.
So what the coalition is saying, Malcolm Turnbull has two key points. He says the government is spending way too much money on this thing, and consumers will need to bear the brunt of this at some point. The second problem Malcolm Turnbull has with the NBN is that he thinks it's going too slowly. And by the NBN's own measures, it is going too slowly. So Malcolm's proposal is that instead of building fibre to the home for the vast majority of places around Australia, he's going to build fibre to the node. In terms of, talking about gaming, and things that we use at the moment, like high-definition movies and videos online, Turnbull's proposal is perfectly adequate for that. What the government is saying is that's fine, but in 5 and 10 years' time, is it still going to be adequate?
There needs to be some kind of upgrade path if you are going to deploy fibre to the node during an interim period, but you need to do that in a fairly well-planned way, that you're not building networks today that you need to spend very significant amounts of dollars on tomorrow to upgrade them to fibre. But I think there is advantage on the flip side to getting faster broadband out to more people around Australia sooner rather than later.
Originally, the government said that we would have 1.2 million premises passed by June 2013. What passed means is basically the fibre has run down the street, but it's not connected. And then now they've revised it down into about 190,000. To be fair to the government, there was a delay of about 9 months in the negotiations with Telstra to buy their copper network.
It's really impossible to build instantaneously across Australia. It's a massive project, so we do have to do a staggered rollout. We've taken into a whole host of factors and considerations. So where can we easily build? Where are the nodes that we start building and then build out from that?
High-speed broadband is something that is everybody's been asking for. The end game being fibre is absolutely essential for Australia. How soon we get there and how we go about deploying the network, I guess that's the next kind of debate, and we're seeing that at the moment in relation to the two policies from different sides of politics.
The NBN is a long-term project, and one that many of us may not get to experience until a couple more years down the track. And when we do, it may not even be the technology promised at the moment. But once it does come into place, hopefully there are new games that can fully take advantage of its speed, bandwidth, and stability.